Let's see. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Build with AI workshop and Google I/O Extended 2024. We are thrilled to have you all here today to experience the future of technology together. Today, we have an exciting half-day event lined up for you, filled with the latest technologies from Google, focusing on AI, cloud, and web development. This is a fantastic opportunity to learn from industry experts, connect with fellow technology enthusiasts, and get hands-on experience with cutting-edge tools and platforms. Our main goal for today is to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of artificial intelligence, particularly how it differs from machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI. We want to demystify these buzzwords that are often thrown around and explain why they are getting so much attention right now. We will introduce to you Gemini, Google's latest AI model. This advanced technology represents a significant leap forward in AI capabilities, and we are delighted to show you how it works and how you can use it to build your own, very own AI-powered applications. Wherever you are a seasoned developer or just starting out, there will be something for everyone today. Our aim is to foster a collaborative and interactive environment where you can learn, ask questions, and gain insights. Next. This one doesn't want. Oh, okay. Next, we have our code of conduct. Be nice, be respectful and constructive, be collaborative and participate. If you want to know more about our code of conduct, you can scan the QR code, and I will also paste in the chat the link just in case you need to refer to it. Next, we have our agenda. As I said, before, you can see that we will have our workshop in the beginning and the Q&A. Then we will have a Google I/O Extended and networking session. We will create some breakout rooms for you to network and connect with each other. So before we dive in, let me quickly go over some logistics. We have a packed agenda, as you can see, and so we try to keep things moving smoothly. If you have any questions, feel free to post your questions in the Q&A section so we can address them when time comes. Otherwise, it might get lost in the chat. And you can see on the bottom, there is a bubble called Q&A. That's the one. Let me see if I I will open it right now so everyone can post their questions. This event, as I said, is recorded, and the video will be posted in the event page itself after the event later today or the latest tomorrow. And I can show you an event just to get an idea where so as you can see, this is an event, older event. After the event is ended, if you scroll down, also if there are more than one videos, you can see here I posted the links. But also at the end of the event, we can post only one videos, and you will have the video of this workshop here at the end of the event, our event today itself. So basically, when in the event page where you RSPV today, see all the way at the end, posted the videos. Okay, so let's go to our presentation. Then a big shout out goes to Google for providing this needed today for today our event. and to all the chapters and women Techmakers that collaborated to this workshop. And we have here, together with Capital Region, GDG Cloud South Lake, GDG San Jose, GDG Fresno, and Women Techmakers Fresno. So thank you all for joining us today. We are thrilled to share this experience with you, and we can't wait to see what we will be together. Without further ado, let's dive into the world of AI and kick it off this incredible journey. So let's start the workshop. So now let's give a warm welcome to ChengCheng Tan, our leading guide for today's AI journey. ChengCheng brings a wealth of knowledge to our workshop, working at the forefront of AI safety with large language models as a senior communication specialist at FAR AI and the owner of ChengCheng Design. Her impressive background spans over 2 decades of experience in AI, ML, and PL consulting, UI, UX research, design, and programming, with a focus on delivering customized solutions for clients, culminating in a master's in computer science from Stanford University and a BA in linguistics and computer science from UCLA. ChengCheng is a true champion for making tech accessible to all. As a Woman Techmakers ambassador, she is passionate about sharing her knowledge and committed to making AI and CS education more accessible to everyone. Let's tap into her expertise as we dive into building the future with AI and explore these exciting possibilities with building with AI. Over to you, ChengCheng, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Wow, thank you for that warm introduction. Very comprehensive. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay. So hello. Thank you and welcome to our Build for AI event. So my plan today is to sort of give you an intro to AI, which then includes some hands-on experience building something. So I hope that's what everyone here signed up for. So if you filled out the pre-workshop survey, I want to thank you. That kind of gave me a glimpse of who you are. And Linda gave an introduction of who I am. So I'm ChengCheng, originally studied linguistics and computer science, went on to get my master's, and I do work with large language models and AI safety. So don't worry, nobody ever knows what that means. So I actually work for a technical AI safety research lab in Berkeley, where I communicate their findings to other researchers. And I also help an AI safety education website. So we use LLMs to build their chatbot. And I am also a Women Techmakers ambassador. That's the Google program that helps women and underrepresented groups thrive in tech. So, and unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that AI is kind of taken the world by storm. It's kind of crazy, right? So you've probably heard all this jargon flying around, or maybe you're curious what all the hype's about. So hopefully today's workshop, I want to help you maybe get started in AI. And since this is a developers group, it looked like most of you are at least somewhat familiar with Python, or at least comfortable with basic programming concepts. So I'm trying to make this so that everyone can follow. And so before we deep dive into building stuff, I want to give you some high-level overview of AI. So the details of AI keeps on changing, but the fundamental principles actually stay the same. So that's what I want to start off with here. So starting off with basic definitions, right? AI, it's actually this giant field within computer science. And the goal is to make intelligent machines that can perform tasks that have human-like abilities, right? We're kind of trying to simulate reasoning, learning, problem solving. I think most people, get that. But then you might have heard of things like machine learning or ML. And some people kind of use AI interchangeably, but really ML is a subset of AI. So instead of programming all of those explicit rules, ML systems kind of implicitly learn the rules by finding patterns in the data. So there's actually lots of AIs that don't use ML, like GoFi. It stands for good old-fashioned AI. So those are like expert systems and others that really aren't so popular today, but they were important. And even within ML, so deep learning is kind of yet another subset that uses neural networks. That's kind of inspired by how the human brain learns. Again, lots of people think deep learning, ML, AI, they're all the same, but it's sometimes helpful to understand these distinctions. And then even within ML, there's plenty of all of these methods or algorithms that don't use neural networks. So there's a few in this list here. And then finally, generative AI, that's another confusing buzzword. So the idea is actually really old, but the term itself became popular after ChatGPT and the image generators like DALL-E or Midjourney. So essentially, it's any AI that can generate complex output. So that was a lot of words. So I want to look at a few examples, like way back when I first got started, it was like the time of the good old-fashioned AIs, right? Most of these were expert systems. And to build language models, experts like linguists, they would hand code like zillions of these grammar rules and all the vocabulary. We had to explicitly teach the computer everything it needed to know. And it was painful, and the results were kind of mediocre at best. Then when machine learning came along, instead of the humans coming up with all of those, we give the computer tons of examples or data. And so using statistics and probability, it would figure out what all of those rules are on its own. So to sort of give you an intuition, right? Probably had to learn foreign language in school. So usually, at least in the US here, they make you memorize all the vocabulary, all of those grammar rules after 2, 3, 4 years at the end of high school. Most students still aren't very good. But if you think of how babies learn a language, you're immersed in all the sounds and sentences. And after tons and tons of examples, a 2, 3, or 4-year-old can actually talk pretty well. You might not be able to list all of the rules in the language explicitly, but you definitely know what sounds right or wrong. So machine learning is kind of inspired by this learning through immersion. And then ML algorithms, they can all learn those patterns, and neural networks are a special kind of algorithm that's inspired by the neuroscience, how the brains work. And so this is a common diagram that you'll see for a neural network. Sometimes it's vertical, sometimes it's rotated on its side. But so each of those nodes, right, in blue, green, or yellow, those are neurons. And so you take some input for the human brain. This might be what you get from your 5 senses. What do you see, hear, feel, right? All of that. For a computer, these would be numbers, like measurements from whatever you're looking at, the plants or animals, or text from books, pixels from an image. And so in between, from after the input, the hidden layer has more neurons that are interconnected with all of these neurons. So you can kind of think of each of these neurons as variable weights, numbers, or functions, right? And it's a puzzle. The goal is to find just the right values for those neurons in the hidden layer so that the output will match the correct answers in your data set. So in this case, our hidden layer has 5 neurons, but you can adjust the numbers. You can make the network wider. Or if you have more hidden layers, it's considered a deep neural network or deep learning. So it turns with deep learning, we can learn a lot more complicated patterns, but we also need a lot more data. So nowadays, these large foundational models like GPT or Gemini, they have billions of neurons. So, I mean, it's not quite the same, but for reference, like our human brain has about 85 to 100 billion neurons. So we've mentioned generative AI. So what's AI that's not generative, right? This has been around a while. They can be discriminative. So when the output is simple, it's like a multiple choice, like picking prepackaged food from a vending machine, right? For example, is it a cat or a dog? What product, which one of these products are we going to recommend? Or how much should we sell the house for? So these are like simple outputs. But with generative AI, the outputs are more complex. It takes simple ingredients and produce like rich creations. So we're creating longer passages of text, realistic photographs, or creative images and videos. So complex outputs. And then again, Gen AI, it's not just ChatGPT or text, right? The output can be code, speech, music, like 3D stuff, you name it. There's a whole range. And so there's AI, ML, neural networks. These were actually all back in the 1950s. So they're actually fairly old technology. So a lot of people are wondering, why is AI suddenly so popular now? Well, we're actually kind of sitting at the convergence of three factors. It's like a trifecta with data, algorithms, and compute. So researchers knew that neural networks, they're really data hungry, right? For a long time, they didn't realize how much. Like when I first started working, data sets with 10 or 100,000 examples, that was considered really large. But with deep learning, they need more like millions or billions of examples. That just wasn't really feasible until the internet came along with Wikipedia, YouTube, social media, right? And then with algorithms, neural networks, they're actually really tricky to train, especially when it's deep, right? Calculating all those right values with all those hidden layers. For decades, researchers thought it was impossible. So, and the people who were trying and working on this, they were actually ridiculed for a long time. It was an uphill battle. And then, but when you finally had these complex algorithms with all the data, it's going to take a lot of computing power. If it's slow, I mean, you don't want to ask ChatGPT a question and wait 3 days before you get an answer, right? So it wasn't until recently that the hardware, the GPU capabilities caught up. So we talked about learning from data, right? So how does that actually work with generating text and images? So clearly no one's labeling all the possible text or images that can be generated. So they came up with like clever ways to create these labeled data. So for language models, the training, it's like a game, right? It can be either like fill in the blank or guessing the next word. So with all this text from the internet, we show the model like the first few words and let it guess the next word. In the beginning, it's wrong most of the time, right? But you keep on updating those neurons, and then over time, it learns to make fewer and fewer mistakes. So, for example, we say Mary had a little, all right, the next word's probably lamb, right? And you're like, kind of feels like a fancy autocomplete. But if you think about talking with someone who completes your sentences, it's supposedly a sign of like a deep mutual understanding, right? So you kind of imagine the computer is understanding all of that. So, and then with image generation, the most popular method, it's kind of a form of denoising. So they take all of the images and they keep on adding a little bit of noise. And so you train the model by showing it the noisy image, and it has to learn to predict what noise looks like to remove it to come up with the clean image. And so it's totally wild. You start off with this random noise, and it's just able to pull out these amazing images. So it started a bit over maybe 10 years ago. We actually had an early wave of a revolution. And since then, AI has actually been quietly taking over your daily life. I mean, you talk to Siri or Alexa, you get recommendations on Netflix and YouTube, Snapchat, Zoom. I mean, even Bevy kind of knows where my face is, and so blurt out everything that's not, right? These big tech companies sometimes know more about you than you know yourself. But all of those AIs are narrow. So they're kind of like idiot savants. They're at one thing, but useless at everything else. But with ChatGPT and now Gemini, the fundamental shift is now a single model has general abilities, right? They're good at many things. And so the ultimate direction is AGI, or artificial general intelligence. So this is AI that's at least as good as the average human across the board. So we're definitely not there yet, but we're getting some very human-like responses for many skills. And that's gotten the world like really excited, but a little bit worried as well. So part of what makes language models like ChatGPT so exciting are these emergencies, right? Just by making a model bigger, it naturally picks up these new skills. So this is from Google's Palm 1 that was trained on 3 sizes in 2022. The smallest size is this 8 billion parameter. It was able to understand language, answer questions, do some arithmetic. So watch this. This is pretty cool. So the medium size has 62 billion parameters. Just by growing the size, I mean, things got better, but also it learned to do things like translation, summarization, and other stuff. Then large model at 540 billion parameters, it gained even more skills. Again, just learning to predict the next word. It's able to do all these tasks. I mean, in the past, we had to train a separate model, like these narrow models for each task, one to answer questions, one to do coding, and one to do translation, right? So now with LLMs, they're generalists, pre-trained to understand human language in general, kind of naturally picks up the other tasks and skills, but they're huge, cost millions, trained on tons of computers over months, right? But once it's trained, the base models, they're pre-trained, it's actually fast and cheap to fine-tune it. Why might we do that? Well, if you think GPT-3 was actually first released in 2020, but ChatGPT was a fine-tuned version of that. But it didn't go viral until like 3 years later. Why? Well, the secret sauce is this thing called RLHF, right? It's reinforcement learning from human feedback. Remember we talked about the next word prediction? I mean, that's great for learning language, but it's kind of awkward to use. I mean, you don't go to ChatGPT, you begin a sentence and ask it to finish your sentence, right? You want it to do something or answer questions. So once it's fine-tuned to follow instructions or carry out a conversation, it suddenly becomes super helpful and quite human. Okay, so that was a whirlwind tour. So any questions? I don't see any questions in Q&A. Is there anything in chat that I need to know? Yeah. So yeah, I will kind of keep an eye on the Q&A. So if anything comes up, feel free to drop it in. We'll have other chances to pause. So I know I threw a lot of words at you here. So, but I hope that you've gotten a better sense of what AI means. So I'm going to move on to the next part, to build an AI-powered app. Okay, with Gemini. So the most exciting thing about Google's latest model, so Gemini, it's not just limited to text, right? It's now multimodal. It understands images and videos. It can see and hear the world, right? If you think about human language, it's not just text, right? You hear sound when people talk, you see their body language too. And so while I still have your attention, I want to quickly walk through what you'll see so you'll kind of get a sense of know what to expect when it's your turn to start building. So we'll start off at this website, AI Google Dev. You'll click on a few blue buttons to get to the Gemini API. And we'll be working with the AI Studio. This is a good way to play around and prototype with Gemini. Eventually, if you're building something for real work, you'll want to use Vertex AI instead, which is Google's enterprise-ready version. So we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. AI Studio's great to start off with. To work with Gemini, you'll be using prompts. You can create your own, but I do encourage you to look at their prompt gallery for some inspiration to see all the possible things that you can build and play with. So if you use ChatGPT or any other chatbot, the interface should feel fairly familiar. And so you might be wondering, so how's this different from other chatbots? How does it help you build something? Well, on the far right panel, there will be settings. These are parameters to Gemini, right? So you can tweak these values and see how the output changes. So those are part of the parameters for the function calls. And then if you click on Get Code on the upper right, it'll pop up a dialog box with the code to call Gemini. You'll be able to choose your programming language, run it in a Colab notebook, copy it into your text editor. It's got you covered, right? So before we start coding, we will need an API key, which is also in this interface. You click on that button, you'll get this long sequence. That will be like a password to access the Gemini API using code. Okay, so most of the parameters will have default values that actually work pretty well. But if we understand a few more concepts, you can actually get better results. So remember, I kind of talked about predicting the next word. Actually, LLMs don't really use words. They use tokens. And so it has a fixed vocabulary size. It's like 50,000 tokens. And English, very common words, they are their own tokens. But longer words or less common words might be made out of multiple tokens. So a tokenizer would convert text into tokens that Gemini understands. And when Gemini 1.0 first came out, the maximum number of tokens that could fit into a prompt, it was maybe like tens of thousands of tokens. But now the newest version that just came out, version 1.5, can now fit like 1 to 2 million tokens. So that's huge, and it's getting a ton of buzz. So yeah, temperature is another one. It affects sort of the creativity. So if you remember LLMs, they work with statistics and probabilities of tokens. So if you set it to 0, you'll get sort of more probable tokens, which is good for factual answers. But if you want like a fictional fun story, you'll want to set that temperature higher, more like 1.0. Okay, so the original model, Gemini, when it came out, came in 3 sizes. You might think, wow, why not just use the biggest and bestest? Well, it costs more and it might not run on smaller devices. And just last week at Google I/O, Flash was released. So it's kind of a balance of this fast, cheap, yet still powerful model. So we'll get to test out this fresh model. In general, we'll use either the Pro or Flash model since they're available on the cloud through AI Studio. Okay, and for safety, every call you make to Gemini will be automatically checked for the probability of having harassment or being hateful, explicit, or dangerous. And so by default, anything that's medium or high chance of harm, those will be blocked, but you'll be able to adjust this. And so the goal of LLMs is to be able to understand natural language, so less of all that computer language. So instead of lots of coding, prompts are actually the way that you're going to be working with LLMs. So prompt design engineering, that's kind of a whole field in itself. And so the basic idea is LLMs, they're not mind readers, at least not yet, right? So what works for effective human communication? You'll want to be clear and explicit in your instructions. Kind of the funny thing is by default, LLMs, they give really bland, generic answers. They have no motivation to provide excellent answers unless you tell them to. So you need to prompt them to answer like an expert who explains things clearly or concisely. And examples also help, right? So early models, they could only do math or translation after you give it a few examples of what that looks like. So a few examples is called few-shot learning. But if it can work with just one example, it's called one-shot learning. And oftentimes, many tasks now, no examples are needed or zero-shot, but oftentimes giving a few examples still gives you better results. Okay, and then telling it to think through step by step, that also helps. It's called train of thought thinking. So remember your math teacher probably made you show your work back in school. So it turns out telling a model to show its work, it does better too. Okay, so these are the supported languages that there's plenty of documentations with examples. And so we'll actually go through the quick start for Python today. And you will start by installing and importing the client libraries, put an API key that we'll get earlier, then you'll be ready for business. We'll be able to call the model Gemini 1.0 Flash and call the generate content with a prompt as a parameter, and that's it. Really just a few lines of code to use Gemini. If you have an image in your prompt, you'll also add it to the prompt. If you're unsure how to call any of this, you can always go back to the AI Studio to look at get code to how to call things. For the chatbot, you'll need to keep an object to keep track of your conversation, right? Because the model is kind of stateless, living on the cloud. It has no idea about who you are or your conversation. So you'll need to send it messages to let it know, hey, this is what we've been talking about. So the first two lines kind of set up the conversation. And after that, you just keep on calling the send message to continue the conversation. It kind of reminds the model of your conversation history. So again, few lines of code and you've got the core of a chatbot. All of that kind of gives you the foundational idea of what we want, but really what we want is an app on our own. So ideally at the end, you'll have a web app that can kind of understand images or build your own chatbot. So I'll give you some starter code that you can customize to your heart's content. Okay, so we're ready to build. I just want to double check. No Q&A questions. Sounds, ooh. Okay. Okay. So for those of you who are following along, I have a progress tracker so that want to make sure no one's left behind. This is it's a Google Sheets. If you want to follow along, you can put this in a tab in your browser, sort of pick an empty column, write in your name on the first row if you'd like. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So switch to another window here. Okay. Oops, where did my window go? Okay. You guys are so quiet. Let's see, share. So here's the progress tracker. Okay, I see a few people are in here. So yeah, feel free to pick any column, put in your name. Fascinating. Okay. Thank you. I think. So as I move through the steps, so feel free to put your name in. As I move through these steps, I'll try to check off where I am. If you've completed it, feel free to check off too, so I kind of know who's still with us. So we're gonna kind of have like 3 sections. There will be free time in each of the section for free exploration. So always feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. So if you don't know why we're doing something, I don't want you to just be clicking or copy and pasting, right? So if you don't know why we're doing something, feel free to ask. I think all of you have the permissions to unmute yourself. So you're probably not the only one confused, so feel free to ask questions as we move along. Okay, so we will start off here. So is Google AI Dev. I guess I shouldn't be putting it in the Q&A. So I think Linda already popped that in the chat. So that will bring you into this this screen. You'll click on the blue button to get into Gemini API, and then click on Google AI Studio. So I'm in the first box. So I see Vaishnavi's with us. Thank you. If the rest of you want to just passively watch in anonymity, that's okay. So if you are following along, if you are on the screen, let me know. So I have, this the little chat, the progress tracker here on a separate tab. Okay, so at least Vaishnavi's here, so you're leading the way. So hopefully, if anyone else, the rest of you can keep up. So what you do is click on the API key and create API key. And if you don't have any products, I think it will let you create the API key in a new project. So it'll generate something. You'll copy this. This is pretty much a password. This is getting exposed, so I will delete this after the workshop. But you'll want to save that into a text editor somewhere so that you can get access to it later on. And then what you want to do is you can create playing around with these prompts. This chat and structured prompts will look a lot like ChatGPT. But I also want you to have a chance to play around with this prompt gallery, look at some examples. Yeah, so I should check off. We have done the API, so we'll have some time to look at the prompts, look at the galleries. So some of these are a little old. They did it. Part of the fun of doing this right after Google I/O is you get to see all the newest stuff, but the fun part is it keeps changing. So we will be exploring and finding new bugs together. A fun one here is the object writer, or the blog post. So you can kind of click on it and run different examples, play around with the settings. So that by default, I think they're still most of the examples are using Gemini 1.1.0, so you can switch it to 1.5 Flash or 1.5 Pro. So Flash is what we're mostly playing with today, and then you can see how the code runs. So I'll give you a few minutes to play through, to run through some of these parts and look at, you can try different prompts here. Give you maybe 5 minutes until 45 minutes passed, if anyone wants to play around. And yeah, feel free to ask questions if you have any.
Actually, there is a question in the chat, not in the Q&A section.
Okay. Is this free to use Google AI Studio? Yes, that's why we're doing this. So Google AI Studio is free to use this. Even what we do later on using code, where you start paying is there is a limit on, like, they might limit how many queries, requests that you can make per minute or per hour. So if you start using it a lot, or if you have privacy issues, like if you're doing it for work and you don't want it to train on your information, then you'll want to move on to Vertex AI. So to get this started, this is free and great to start off with prototyping. Good question. So once you created the API key, what did you click on next? You could pretty much click on anything. You can click on the new chat prompt to play with different prompts, or the prompt gallery. Those are the new two main ones I would play with at this point. So the prompt gallery to look at your different options. So those are like pre-filled prompts, like the blog post creator is a fun one. So you can see how you can choose images and add a prompt to ask it to generate a blog post for you. So this is a legacy. Again, this was all fine until last week. Now with 1.5 Pro, everything's a little changed. So this is still using Gemini 1.0. So I would probably switch to a newer model, and some of the options and settings have changed, but you can see how you can add different media to your prompt and see how the code would change. Did that answer your question, Jason? Okay, yeah, so play around, give you another 2 minutes or so, explore. I do not see the blog post creator page since I click on it. Instead, I see docs. The blog post, since once I click on it, let's see. So when you click on the prompt gallery, blog post creator, the API.
Hi, Chen, Vaishnavi here.
Vaishnavi?
Once I click on the blog post creator, I don't see this page. I see something like access Google AI Studio with your workspace account.
Oh, That I don't know. I know that this particular one might be one of their older versions, so I don't know that it's not super important. Did you try, when I was testing out, I know that's the whole prompt gallery, I think it's great, but it's also, I think it's in a state of flux because all the examples are changing based on the announcements that they made last week. So are you able to play with any of the prompts?
Take me to the same page.
Oh, Vaishnavi, where are you located?
Bay Area.
Oh, you're Bay Area, so you shouldn't have a problem. And you're not using a VPN or anything, right?
No.
They are logged into the browser. Oh yeah, make sure you are logged into your Google account. Actually, you were already in. You got the API key, right? Are you logged into a Google account?
Yeah, I am.
Huh. How about if you just create a new prompt? Are you able to ask it questions?
That I'm able to. Only the gallery doesn't work for me.
Gallery doesn't work. Yeah, I don't know. I think something is going on. The gallery was changing a lot because a lot of the examples have gotten kind of deprecated with the new models and new options coming out. But it's not super important. Those are just examples to give you ideas. You'll still be able to do the rest of the things. It's a bummer that you won't see the examples, but the examples are a little old anyway. So try incognito. Well, you can try incognito, but you'll still need to log into a Google account.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay. Shall I move on, or are people still wanting to have a few more minutes to play with this?
Moving on is fine with me.
Okay. Yeah, I know when I was playing with the prompt gallery the last couple of days, some of the examples didn't work for me, but the blog post and the marketing ones, those are standard ones that they've been using in a lot of examples, even though I know the format has changed, but they were working for me, but it's possible for that there's some other hidden issues. Okay, so don't worry about this too much. We've got other things that I want to make sure we get to. So I'm going to move on to the next step just to make sure that we have time to build something fun. Okay. So we will start now that you have the API key, you will see you'll need that to program to do the coding part. And so I want to move on to that part. So to get to the quick start, you can either click directly on the link that's right here, but if you don't have this screen, how you would normally get to it is, go back to if you just memorize AI Google Dev, it will get you the link to everywhere. So you click on Gemini API and under Docs, then under Getting Started Tutorials, there's this tutorial. So it has tutorials in all these other programming languages. So if there's another programming language you prefer to use, you can play with that. But I'm going to walk you through the Python one. So the Python is checked, but you can click on something else, and we'll run this in Google Colab. So if you are on this page that looks like this Google Colab, then so after I guess I might have jumped a little too fast. So once you get on this screen, click on the first Python quick start. And once you see the screen with the Google Colab, click on the second checkbox. Can you show one more time where to click on the Google Colab? Yes. So when you get onto this screen, this was under Google AI Dev. You can actually just click on this link here. The tutorial should bring you to this page, and then run in Google Colab. When you click on that, should bring you to the Google Colab page. So once you see these two, those would be the first two boxes off. So I see Jill and Vaishnavi are. So I'm gonna remove all the empty boxes so that I can see you guys all get everyone cozier together on the tracker. Okay. So I think everyone's here, right? And so if you've never used Google Colab, here, this is kind of a place where you can write and run code right inside your browser. So it's really great for experimentation because it comes pre-installed with like all the common libraries that's used for machine learning, and it gives you free access to like GPUs and TPU hardware. So you don't need to worry about getting everything installed on your own computer. So this sidebar here, it kind of has an outline of all the contents that's in this notebook. And so on the right, there are two types of blocks. So each of these blocks, these are called cells. And so you can have these cells that are collapsible here, right? And so there are two types of cells. There's basic text cells, that's mostly instructions. And so that's why this is actually a really popular tool for teaching, right? So the codes, and then there's code cells here that have this gray background, so which you run by clicking on this play button. Right, so you can read the instructions, you can run the code, you can just keep on clicking on the button to close the play button, or you can, on the keyboard, it's Command Shift Return on the keyboard. That will also run the cell. So this is now installing the libraries that you'll need. And once you see, it's taking a little while here, but once it's done, you'll see a little check mark. So I'm sitting here. So you see, I've got a little check mark. The number 1 tells me that this is the first one that first step that I completed. This is the second step, and I'm done with the third step. So this is, I'm done with the setup section of my code here. And then, so it's a few things that you need to know is in theory, you can actually run, the reason why they put a number is you can actually run each cell multiple times, and you can run them out of order. So just kind of be careful. You can if you jump around, you might get confused. So kind of watch out for that. So if you've only done traditional programming where it's from top to bottom, this, you can kind of like run little snippets of code out of order. So be careful with that. And then what you'll want to do, you'll just keep on going. When you get to this one where it says set up your API key, if you run play, you'll probably get an error because what it's looking for is your Google API. So now in order to call it, you need to put in your API key. On this left here, there's this little key symbol, right? So make sure you click on expand and you'll add a new secret. And so you'll get a name and a value. The name is this error that it's what it's looking for in the code. It's called Google_API_key. And then the value is what you got from the AI Studio before. You'll put in the value and then hide it. So once you have that, make sure you click on Add Secrets. This cell with this notebook does not have secret access. So what you need to do is you also need to turn on this notebook access so that your notebook can have access to that secret. And when you run it, this cell should work. So when you finish running all the cells in the setup and adding the secrets, put in the check mark. Okay, I see a couple people here. So is there anyone who, okay. So I think the people who are following along have gotten to the secrets. So now what you do is you just continue running the code. I'll give you the next 5 minutes or so. You kind of just run through each of the code. You can kind of read the instructions to see what it does, right? Just keep on running through and kind of skim to get an idea until we get to, so you'll be generating text. You'll see how the safety settings work. And you can see you can generate multiple categories and just run different little pieces of code. And here's where you finally start getting some text generated. So you keep on going through the text, the chat conversations until you get to after you finish the conversations, the count tokens. So I'll give you about 5 minutes until the top of the hour. Do you have a link to the info on good practices for secrets like API keys? And you mean like storing them for yourself or for when you're deploying for running things? I would say in general, probably don't share your screen in a public setting, but I just keep mine in, I shouldn't say where, but I have a file that I keep all my API secrets. The ones that are deployed, they're saved in either the app or GitHub for deployments. Okay, yes. So GitHub you can store secrets in deployment. And when we get to deploying our web app for Streamlit, it will show you how. So you don't put it in your code, you don't check it directly into the code base repository. But yes, most deployments have places for you to store secrets to keep them secret. Okay, so I'm just clicking through all of these until we get past the chat conversations. The chat messages. Okay, so just keep on playing until you get count tokens. So give you a few more minutes until the top of the hour to sort of look through. There's a lot of instructions in the sample code. It might feel kind of overwhelming. So basically, it's actually just showing the options for like the few lines of code that I showed in my slides earlier. So don't worry about understanding everything here. I really just don't want to spend too long. I just want you to know that this notebook has working examples with detailed instructions so that you can come back to this later on. So so don't worry about too much. Really, the basics when I give you the sample code is just the bare bones that you'll need for the required parameters, but there's a whole bunch of other things that you can do. And I just wanted to let you know where the resources are so that you can come back to find these. Okay, so if you've gotten through all of these, I will probably wait until a few more minutes until the top of the hour before I move on. I want to give ourselves a good half hour to actually play with our own deployed app, which is actually the fun part. Yeah, and then feel free to unmute, type, or ask questions if there's any issues. So we stop at count tokens. Yeah, I want you to at least get through the count tokens, but you can definitely continue on, although it does look like most people have gotten there. So I'll give people 1 more minute to browse through so that we're not just running through everything. Or I guess maybe now, if you're already at the account tokens. Oops, lunchtime for me, but I'll stay with you guys. Okay. So I know I've kind of been rushing things because I really want to make sure we have time for the app part. And so we'll take a look. So let's take a look. We'll actually build here. It's kind of like 4 or 5 apps in one. So you'll be able to modify the different parts that you're interested in. So there's this thing here, the minimal setup. It's not going to be very interesting, but we'll use it to sort of test our output from AI Studio's Get Code, and we'll take a look at the code later. And then the text prompt, this is just the very basic message in, message out, right? You can ask it to write a poem about a rainbow moon here. And so it'll generate the text output, right? And here you can, it's an image captioning. Well, actually, it's a little more than image captioning, but you can drop an image. Let me see if I can drop some fun image here, right? And then you can ask a question, say, so what do you see? And you see it's kind of, this little guy's running. It says he's hard at work trying to get you information, right? It's a beautiful painting of a rural landscape with lake, house, trees, and animals. Kind of nice and concise. And then there's this chat bot here, right? So you can ask it, what's the perfect summer vacation? Since we're getting into the summer season here. So this kind of, okay, so it's still thinking here. So if you're able to get to this demo on the screen, it is the run demo that's on the spreadsheet. So you click on the checkbox, show that you've gotten there. So this is the ChengCheng demo Streamlit. You don't need to actually, I just want you to be on this website. You don't need to run all the examples yet. Because from here, what you'll want to do is you'll want to fork this app. So when you have this screen, you'll want to wait for me for a little while. But before you actually click on the fork button, I will want you to click on the advanced settings because we'll need to put in our API key at this point. So have I lost people? So first, make sure you run demo into the stream so you're able to see the Streamlit app. And then click on, oh, actually, there might be a few more steps because I was already signed in. So after you run the demo, click the fork app. It might ask you to sign into GitHub. I was already signed in before I did this, so it doesn't show. So you might need to see a few things. So you'll need to make sure you sign into GitHub. There might be some, asking you for passwords and texting authentication and all that stuff. So just stop before you get to the screen, before you fork, because we're going to put in our secrets. Have I lost everyone? Can you show one more time? Yes, absolutely. So you'll go to ChengCheng demo Streamlit app. So what it is, it's actually this in the Google spreadsheet, that if the tracker, you click on run demo and it should open the Streamlit app. Okay. And then when you run the Streamlit app, you'll click fork. So when I click fork, I come straight into this window. But if you're not already logged in to Streamlit or GitHub, I think there's a few extra steps that might ask you to log into GitHub and log into Streamlit. I'm sorry, I was testing it out right before the session and I didn't log out, so it's skipping those steps. So when you get to this page, don't click fork yet. Yes, it asks to log into Streamlit with GitHub. Yes, when you ask in Streamlit, yes, use GitHub to sign in. And then so sign into both you can create this. If you don't already have a Streamlit account, use GitHub to create the account. But I did assume that everybody already has a GitHub account. That was one of the pre-survey questions. It asks to log in Streamlit with GitHub. Yes. So, and once you do that, after you log in with Streamlit and GitHub, it should show you this page where you can actually, even before you click on the fork, you'll want to remember this is the URL. So you can choose whatever name you want. This will actually be the public URL that you can share at the end. It generates something unique by default, but you can choose your own name. Okay, I'm seeing a couple more checkboxes coming in. Yeah, to verify. So it'll either give you two-factor authentication or send an email, right? Email to verify. There's probably a PIN somewhere that you need to log in. There's a few hoops. GitHub is very careful to make sure everything's kosher. Okay. For those of you, just because the next step will be a little bit time consuming, I'm going to show the next step and come back for anyone who's stuck that to bring you through. Okay, so when you get to the page under advanced settings, this is where we're going to put in our API key. So let me show you what that will look like. You'll put in Google, it's kind of the same that we saw before. It's Google _API _key space. You're going to need the quotes, start and end, and then paste in your API key. Here, you click save and then fork. And so when this happens, it's going to take a while for it to fork and set up a code space for you to program with. So is there anyone else so Linda and Saba, are you having trouble logging into Streamlit or GitHub? Do we need to, yeah, what do we do in advanced settings? Yes, so click on advanced settings. And so this is where you're going to put in your API key. So it's going to look like Google _API key. And then you're going to equal with open and close quote, double quotes. Actually, I'm not sure if it matters if it's single or double quotes, but just put in your password, your API key here.
What's the URL again? It's ChengCheng demo, right?
Yeah, or you can come here and you can just click on run demo. It's cheng2-demo dash.
I missed the
that's
dash.
stream.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is a dash. Yes, and then, yeah, so let me click on it so you can see it. So it's cheng2-demo.streamlit.app. And so you'll want to fork this, or if you want to look at the code on GitHub, you can click on this. Okay, so, oh, I guess I forgot to check off myself. So, so you'll wait, create code space. Oh, okay. So this was part of when it was doing that baking and forking after you clicked after the advanced settings and putting in the secrets. It's going to set up an image and a container and all that stuff to create a code space for you.
Sorry for asking again. Oh, okay. The Google API key. That's the only secret, all right?
Yes, that's the only secret we're going to need. I created a code space without advanced settings. Where do I put in the API code? Okay, yes. So what you'll need to do is you'll want to go back and log into Streamlit. You're going to sign in probably with your GitHub. Oh dear. Okay, don't worry too much about that yet. I'll show you where to put that in later, because I think my app it's not completely created. You'll go back. You'll have to add the API key after it's fully deployed. So it's doing two things right now. It's both forking and deploying your app, and it's also a code space. So it's also an online version of all your code in the browser that you'll be able to work in. So that's why it's taking a little while to do that. And so, okay, when that's ready, it will look something like, if you've ever used IDE like Visual Studio, this is what it should ultimately look like, right? It'll have the code and a browser version, a simple browser of your code. So I've got a lot of windows opening opened right now, people at different stages. So in my case, it is the code space and simple browser. I'm up to this point. Are there other, I'm kind of little, my mind's jumping around. There was someone else at a different point. So at this point, if you're able to have the simple browser, if you need to go back and check your deployed version, you should be able to go into Streamlit, you sign in, and this will be the version that you just forked. So it's not the exact same version as mine, but this will be your own version, right? And so you'll be able, if you click on it, it will have this. This was the URL that's unique to you. And if you forgot to put in your API key, you can come back in at this point and go under settings and under secrets and go back in. Error not found. Whoops, hold on a second. Secrets. I think I am doing something funky, but if you go under settings and secrets, you should be able to put in your Google API key here. I think I probably did something funky because my thing may not be fully set up yet. But don't worry about putting in this secrets yet until you have everything fully set up, because if it's still setting the code up, it might be in a funky state in between. Yeah, it's really not happy with me here. Huh, but it is working, so we'll come back to putting in the API key if it's still not working for you later. But I think we need to move on a little bit just to make sure it gives it time to set everything up, okay? So for those of you, how many people are able to see this screen with the code space and the browser? So if you are here, check the box. But otherwise, if you're just sitting waiting, don't worry too much. I can walking you through the code, and when your code is ready, at least you'll know what you can play with, because we only have like 15 minutes left now. So I do want to walk through the code so that you get it to play with your stuff. Okay, so how Streamlit works is you start off with this hello.py. So all the py code is your Python code. Page is essentially this page that you see, the welcome to Gemini code. So I think you can probably, if you've done any programming, you see all the text that's here is what matches your code here. It's all in Markdown, so that's why you have the links and the URLs and the text. And so what you need to know is anything that starts with st dot, those are all Streamlit specific code. So Streamlit gives you a lot of existing components so that you don't have to do a lot of work with a lot of details. They have, like, pre-existing widgets that you can use to set the name of your web page, to print out text, and to create that little sidebar, right? So the sidebar here, it's select a demo. That's where the code and and the reality, it matches up here. The other pages that you want to play with is there's a directory here where these are the four pages that we have. So there's minimal setup, the text prompt, image caption, and chatbot. So that matches these 4 pages here. And so if you look at the code, the minimal setup, you see it's really minimal. I tried to find just the really basic things that you need. So it has a title, it sets up the Streamlit, it imports the Google library, and it pulls the API key from the secrets, and we use the Gemini 1.5 Flash model, and this is the one line of code to call the prompt. In Streamlit IO, I only see the code, but not the sample browser. Yeah, wait a little while. It takes a little, it shows the code first, and it takes a little while for it to spin up the browser. So just give it a few more minutes. It may not get there right away, so it might take a little while to spin up. And so, yeah, don't worry about that too much yet. But if we wait much longer, another 5 minutes, and it still doesn't, then try to figure out how we can get that for you. So this here, pretty much when you get the get code from AI Studio, you'll be able to paste it here. So that's why I made this very minimal. This is where you can test your code, but whatever is the output from the generate content, the response, there's response.text. This is where you print out using st.write is printing it out to the web browser. So this is like the very minimal setup that you need to talk to Gemini. So with the text prompt, it's a little bit more. Okay, so you see it's starting to give me errors because the browser is trying to run the code, but it can't. So it's telling me it needs the secrets. So there's actually 2 things going on. You have a deployed version of your code, which is pulling it from GitHub, and you also have a version that's running in this code space here. So we need to put our API key here as well. So in order for our simple browser to work with with Gemini here, we will need to create the secrets in Streamlit stores a local copy of the secrets in a file called, I will put it here. You'll need to create a document, and the file will be called .streamlit.secrets, TOML. I'm going to put that in. So that's the name of the file that you need to create. And the contents of the file, you guessed it, is going to be, yeah, I should have just been putting these. Okay, Google _API _key, enter your API key. Okay, so I will paste my API key here. And so you were asking how to keep secrets. Secret is when you store this into GitHub, you'll want to make sure everything in the .streamlit directory is ignored, and then ignore anything else that you don't need. And then once I do that, I should be able to come back to the prompt now. Rerun. No, Google now automatically scans repos, and I get a warning in case they see any of my keys in my, yes, that's nice.
And I know because it happened with me.
It's a good thing, right? It's getting smarter. The AI is getting smarter. It can't find my file. Oh, okay. I think I didn't save it.
Can you show one more time, ChengCheng?
On how to create the Streamlit secret?
Yeah, where? Yeah, where? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I might have accidentally put it in the pages. I put it in the wrong place. That's probably why I can't find it. But you need to be in the top directory, not in the pages directory. So let me delete this.
Okay, so that was
yeah, sorry. Permanently. That's why I can't find it. So you need to be in the top directory and create, oops, not create that, but create the file that I just put in, the Streamlit secrets. Oh, where did it go? So put it here. And yeah, so make sure your streamlit.secrets file is at the top directory, not buried under the pages directory. And then we'll go back and paste in the main folder or the subfolder. Yes, sorry. It's the main folder, top level folder. Okay, and then if you save it, then you should be able to rerun it. Okay, there we go. Now we have a prompt of an error. So again, you can write about a rainbow moon. I guess I had saved it before. So this works, right? And then, so the code, so for the text prompt, how it's a little bit different is now it can take the input from the user. So instead of you hard coding what the prompt is here, we wrote, hard coded, write a story about the backpack here. Here we're taking the user's input and now we can generate an output on whatever the user has. So that's just text. And then image, very similar. It just adds the extra little widget so that it can browse the files. It takes the name of the file that you have, it uploads it, and then it displays the image and then passes it to the prompt. So it will take both an image and a text prompt and then sends those to the model and generates the output. And then the chatbot, it looks like a little more code, but really it's just all the things to connect, to keep track of the text. But really the Gemini code itself is pretty straightforward. It pretty much just initializes the model with the empty history, and then it starts taking the user's input and calls chat send messages, and the rest is just keeping track of the little widgets and the text input boxes, and then displaying them when you're done. So we've got 5 minutes left here. So what I want you to do is explore around. You can try to change the titles, change some parameters. One fun thing to do is here you can give the chatbot, for example, you don't have to just take what the user inputs. You can add extra context. For example, when we asked Gemini before to give what summer vacation looks like, it gave like a really long-winded, kind of boring answer, but you can give your chatbot, you can intervene and add additional fun stuff in between. So you can sort of change your prompt a little bit. Like I can add this prompt here, prompt, and say, answer it like your, give short and funny responses like a code master or a Zen code master that's eccentric and wise, who mixes profound errors and insights with coding and humorous anecdotes, right? So you can add this, and this gives your chatbot a different personality. So if we ask, what's the best summer vacation, you'll see it starts adding, some emojis and trying to be a little bit more funny. And if you've heard of things like RAG, where you're putting in your personal data, or you ask a question and it pulls information from databases, so you can take the results from your database and you can add it to your prompt, and that's how you can sort of make your chatbot smarter. How do you get the secrets file? Okay, so again, you need to create it. So you create a new file here in the code space under new files. And so make sure you're at the top level directory, and the name of the file is the one that I put under the chat before. It's called streamlit/secrets.to toml. Oh, scratch that. Okay. In case you don't have any secrets, you might not have this file. Yeah, so there's two things going on. There is this version here in the code space where you're taking locally, but then there is also the Streamlit version of your deployed version. So if you log into Streamlit now here, you should be able to have the URL of your app. And this is the version that's actually in GitHub. So it always syncs it to GitHub. So in your code spaces now, unless you, okay, where's my code space? So you do need to commit and save this to any changes that you make. You'll need to commit, push it to GitHub in order to see it on a deployed version that other people can see. So at this point, you should have two versions. You will have the version that's deployed that everyone can see, and then you have a version that's in your code space that you're currently working on if you're sort of customizing it. Did that make sense? Can you please use as variation other API keys instead of Google, like ChatGPT? Yeah, it's actually very, very similar. If you look under my, on here, this edit and test, I give you the documentation for Streamlit. So it shows you how to use all the different elements, and they actually have an example. Their tutorial is actually using ChatGPT. So chat apps with LLMs. So build a LLM. Yeah, this is the basic chat app and LLM chat app. So these are actually all using ChatGPT. Flash is visibly faster than non-fast. Yay, that's good to know. So it's flashy. Yes, so this link here has some tutorials to create apps using ChatGPT instead of Gemini. And so the process is very similar. You will store the OpenAI's API key instead of Google's API key, but it's the same. You still can't see the sample browser. Oh, let's see. How about we are at 12:30.
Can I share my screen to show how where to go to change the key? Maybe that's the problem in Streamlit.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I looked it up, and 1 second, let me see which one is this. I see it. I have so many tabs.
Yeah, I know.
Let's give it a try. I hope it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this the one. Okay, so can you see my screen? So basically, when you are in your Streamlit account, this is my app, no? So I went in these 3 dots, settings, and when you go in settings, you have here your secrets, and you can add the API key line from the chat that Cheng posted earlier. I can see if that will help you. I don't know if she has to redeploy it.
Yeah, I'm thinking Vaishnavi's question might be a little bit different because I'm thinking, do you want to share your browser of what you're seeing, Vaishnavi?
Yeah, maybe it's better that way.
You got muted.
Yeah, you are muted.
Can you see my screen
Sorry.
now?
Yeah, I see your screen. And yeah, I wanted to ask Linda, it is 12. Well, okay. It's at I'm at
We are
my.
okay with time. We are okay with the time. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Edit run build command to see your code running in the browser. Yeah, try doing that. It should have run it automatically, but I don't know why yours isn't. So try typing the word run build.
Maybe she's running it locally, right? Not on the browser.
Oh, no. I mean, this.
I'm not sure. It's everything black, so it's very difficult.
Yeah, let me change the.
Are you in a browser or are you in your own VS Code?
I think
This is
she's
the
running
browser.
it. It is the browser. Okay.
Yeah, I just have a dark theme.
You just have the dark theme. Yeah, I don't know. Mine automatically ran this command, so you can try copying and pasting this command to see if it works for you. I don't know why yours didn't start up.
In the terminal?
I put it in the chat.
No, I copied that, but do you want me to put it here, like in the terminal?
Yes, in the terminal at the bottom, right next to the $sign, where next to main. Yes, exactly. Try that. Okay. And so it looks like it's running the question. So you'll probably need to, actually, I don't even know how to open a terminal here because it always opens automatically. So it is running now. It's just how do you open a browser within here? Tell you what, I can help you afterwards just because it seems I do want to wrap up. But we can connect offline and I can help you because you're really close. It's just not showing the browser and I'm not sure why, but we can figure that out. But I do want to make sure I'm mindful of everyone.
Somebody wrote in the chat to click to open
click the URL. Oh yeah, try doing that. Click on the external URL at the bottom there. Did that open anything for you? Command click.
I'm trying. It's in another tab, so it's opening.
Okay, but you see it though.
And it's still running, but yeah, I think it'll work. I don't know.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the collaborative input. Thank you, Daniel, for the idea. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me, I do want to wrap up. So if anyone has anything interesting, the app URL here at the bottom. Okay, I think I stopped clicking on the text, but I think we're kind of, okay, I didn't really sync and redeploy, but if you guys wanted to share your URLs, you can put it down here if you do anything interesting that you want to share later on. But let me just wrap up to make sure that we all end in the same spot. But now I have a zillion tabs going. Okay. So if you want to continue learning, I have some resources here. These are the ones that I found helpful. The bit.ly link and the link in the QR code, it goes to a form. None of the fields are actually required, but if you're willing to give me some feedback, I'd be super grateful, and it'll help me refine this to better help others. So, hopefully less scattered next time. So if you submit the URL, these slides that I've been sharing, it will be revealed to you. All of the links on the PDF are clickable. So, and you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. And before we wrap up, we do have a few announcements that you won't want to miss, right? So if you build something cool, tag us, let us know, or better yet, you can enter this into this Gemini API competition. There's tons of great prizes and serious cash. Let me put in this link for you. You can try again after the video is posted online.
You stole my presentation with this.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I steal?
That was
okay.
my next slide.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so yeah, okay. From this point on, Linda has wonderful things to share, and I will not steal her thunder. So thank you. I do want to say, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, she does have other stuff, so really want to thank everyone for joining me, and many thanks for Linda for organizing this. She'll have some announcements and instructions to get you started with Vertex AI and other good stuff. So really want to thank you all, and I will not share it.
I didn't want to rush you up. As you can see, we didn't discuss what we'll present before the presentation.
Okay, so to Linda.
Let me share, first of all, with everyone, if you want to continue your learning journey and you want to use, we have the credits for you. Let me share my screen. Where is here? Slideshow, okay. So share screen. So many screens in here. Oh, cloud. Okay. So everyone here in the room can go to this link that I will be posting in the chat. Give me just 1 second. Do you have it, ChengCheng? Maybe you can post it quickly for me. Copy link address, and I will be posting it in the chat. And okay. So here, going to this link, you can try Google Cloud for free, try to build something. As ChengCheng says, at Google I/O, Google announced a competition, and I will give you more details in a while. If anyone can go to this link to grab the Google Cloud free credits. We wasn't sure if our session today you will be able to go through everything without the credits. So we made sure that we have these credits for you. That's why. So let's go to the next. Next, you will see something. You will see an email like this. You can go to click this to get your access, your credits. And then you will have to click accept and continue, and you should be able to see that your credit was successfully applied. And this is the last step to apply your credits. You go to my first project in your Google Cloud Platform, and you click Google Cloud Platform trial billing account. Make sure that you go to that one. Then when you go in there, you go to the billing. You will see down here it says credits. And when you go there in the credits, you should be able to see these $5 credits that you redeemed. And if you still have issues, if you have existing projects, you will have to go to choose your project Google Cloud Platform Trial Billing account. So I hope everyone got their credits. Let me know in the chat if you are having issues. And we will try to wrap up the workshop, and then we will go over to the next presentation. Any questions? So far, so good? I don't see anything in the chat and in the Q&A, so I'm assuming you are working on it or you are getting there.
Yeah, if you've never used Google Cloud Platform before, it's I think there's like $150 or $300 of credits so that you can experiment with it. And they also have another program called Google Innovators. And if you sign up for that, they also give you additional credits for free learning. So those are really good resources to get started.
Thank you so much for calling it out. Maybe can you even share, I think I have the links. Can you share the links in the chat for them? So yeah, I already used my $300 credit long time ago in Google Cloud. But yeah, if you are for the first time, as ChengCheng says, you will get a $300 credit to start your journey in Google Cloud. And you can use these free tier products. You will not be billed. Before there was some issues, and I think now Google fixed that. So you will not be billed unless you choose to go to the paid version. So you should be all safe from that point of view. So did anyone had issues claiming the free credits? If not, we will move to the next part of our workshop. Let me... Okay, in the meantime, so I would like to thank ChengCheng for the beautiful presentation, and I really appreciate it for all the learnings and everything. I think I have to put it like this, otherwise it doesn't show the slides correctly. Okay, so thank you so much, ChengCheng, for all the learnings you share with us. And for everyone who attended the workshop, I will share this link in the chat where you can claim your badge for attending this workshop. In order to claim the badge, you'll have to have a Google developer account, which you can create right away when you click on the link by logging in with your Gmail account. I hope everyone is able to access the link. And one more time, thank you so much, ChengCheng, for everything. I will try to move on. If you have any issues in claiming anything so far, write in the chat. I wanted only to call out that due to a high demand on this workshop, we actually closed the RSPV because we couldn't have too many people. So we heard everyone who wrote emails or reach out, and we brought again Build with AI in June 22nd from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, where we will go again over to build an app with AI and fine-tuning Gemini. We already have like 125 people join so far. So if you are interested in continuing your AI journey, feel free to where is my RSPV. If I find my page where I can post the link in the chat. I have so many pages. 1 second. I think I got it. Here it is. And okay, so that's it so far with our workshop. I will stop the recording and then we will go over and I will yes, Roya, it's an extraordinary instructor, and I'm really happy to have her coming back. Just like ChengCheng, you will with ChengCheng, you will learn something. You will get the workshop with something under your belt, and definitely feel free to join. Thank you so much, ChengCheng, for recommending this workshop with Roya. I will stop the recording and I will restart it in a few minutes because I would like to have 2 videos, one with the workshop and one with the Google I/O extended. So let's